Hey everyone, I'm Mary, your host and the CEO and co-founder of One Love Community Care and One Love Humanity. I'm the visionary behind FREEBIRD and Goddess Revolution. Our empowering platforms invite real people from all walks of life to share their voices, their hearts, and their stories with the world. On FREEBIRD, we delve deep into mental health challenges with compassion, understanding, and hope. Our episodes explore intimate topics such as neurodivergence, transgenerational trauma, relationship dynamics, life after abuse, and the journey of healing, recovery, and renewal. With a foundation in trauma-informed practice, cultural sensitivity, and holistic methodologies, I aim to bring a community of people together to empower the human spirit and provide a safe space for meaningful conversations and insights where we can integrate and embody our authentic selves. Join our community hub on FREEBIRD and let's navigate the path to discovering how to move from wounding to wisdom, from fear to faith, and transform your trauma into resilience and revolutionary change. You can reach us at www.olcc.au and let us know how we can support you. So today we have a super special, amazing man, probably quite potentially my favorite person on the show tonight on FREEBIRD. I am super honored, pardon me, to introduce Jonathan David. He's an empathic leader with over 3 decades of experience serving his community. Jonathan's expertise is in behavioural change, skills coaching, transformational coaching, holistic human-centered development, and all of these teachings around consciousness and his personal relationship with God is a testament to how he serves and a dedication of how he serves. His empowering leadership style focuses on nurturing individuals' strengths and resilience, guiding them through challenges and fostering fulfilling lives and relationships. With a deep respect for diverse cultures, values, and communities, Jonathan dedicates himself to supporting people on all walks of life in setting goals, navigating change, creating positive outcomes for themselves and their families, with a really big passion for community and also humanity. In this special episode, Jonathan will be sharing his profound insights on the power of choosing faith over fear, cultivating a personal and intimate relationship with God, practicing mindfulness, and embracing conscious awareness when faced with life's challenges, losses, and triggers. So I'm pretty sure that this episode is going to promise some very, very intriguing, very interesting conversations. And for those of you that don't know, why he's a super special guest is because he's also my personal partner and my hubby, my husband. So it's going to be a really fun conversation. So welcome, darling.
So everyone knows we're actually doing this live from 2 different rooms in the house. So it's a very funny situation. I noticed that you've taken the dogs.
I got the dogs with me. You got
right?
Zoe. Yep.
And so I've headed off into the other room, which is obviously, you can tell in the background, is the prayer room.
Beautiful.
And there's a friend doing some prayers with me.
You want to tell us a little bit more about the prayer room before and maybe yourself as well. Maybe Melby, tell us a little bit about the prayer room and yourself.
Wow. Well, the prayer room which is going to be what we're going to be talking about today, but it is so much around choosing faith over fear, but understanding what faith is for you. Obviously, faith is going to mean so many different things to different people. I think it's a really important journey for people to explore about what is it do I believe in? Where is my faith? What does that look like? And what comes from that faith? If you have beautiful faith and you have a beautiful connection, obviously you can also experience things like mercy and grace, peace, forgiveness. So there's a whole lot of things can come from it, which I think are really profound gifts. the prayer room is really, there's actually the movie we watched recently, I think it was called The Prayer Room,
It's
and
called
her
the war room, actually.
war room.
Yeah,
So her war room, which was her prayer room, was actually in her closet. So she cleaned out her walk-in closet and turned that into her prayer room, which is beautiful. So your prayer room can be anywhere where you can go that is safe and special for you, and you can have around you um, prayers or things that mean a lot to you so that you can actually go somewhere, sit somewhere in contemplation, sit somewhere in meditation, and sit somewhere in prayer.
beautiful.
There we
So
go.
what I'm hearing is like it's a sacred space where you are moving into a relationship with faith.
You know, one of the things that I guess we've got to consider is, you know, am I a spiritual being or not? You know, what does that mean to me? What's that saying? Am I a human being having or trying to have a spiritual experience, or am I a spiritual being having a human experience? And it's a very old saying, but I actually really love it. I really think it's a very profound question, and I really think it's a question that people should sit with and explore. I don't mind, obviously, what well, it's not that I don't mind, but whatever answer they get to is then obviously going to define a part of their life, a part of their journey, a part of their experience. Look at that, the incense is coming through
I
the
can
video
see the
camera. How's
smoke.
that? Isn't
I
that
can
incredible?
honestly, I can see it, can almost smell it from the other room. Well, let me ask you a question, Jonathan. I'm sure a lot of people are also curious because, you know, well, let's start with very basic. What does the definition of faith mean to you? What is a faith?
Um, well, faith is believing in something that is outside of yourself. I would say, for me, that's my definition. I understand a lot of people would have faith in themselves, and I think that's also great. That have faith in their own capacity, their own mental capacity, their ability to be successful at work or be successful in life or in relationships. So they're using intellect and mind to do that. So their faith might come through their own intelligence or their own mind. Other people might have faith through the amount of money that they have, materialism. But when the question that you're asking me is my definition about faith is having faith in something that is not those things, that is outside of yourself, that is outside of yourself, but inside of yourself. It is something that is bigger than you. It is something that you can have a connection to, an understanding to. It's something that you can, it's a love affair
Beautiful.
outside of yourself. It's something that you can develop a relationship with. It's something that you can talk to, connect with, again, have prayers to. I think one of the most profound areas of that journey is to understand that it is a very personal it's a personal journey, but it's also a personal experience. And I think that's the hardest thing to give people, is that for anyone that's ever touched with that experience, with an experience where they're feeling peace or they're feeling connection or they're feeling mercy or they're feeling, that faith
Mm.
outside of them is not just a fantasy. It's not
What a
just,
construct.
I just believe, please, help me. It's once you have even a little tiny little smidgen of some type of connection that comes back, it's a game changer. All right. Because then you've obviously got a personal experience. The catch is you need to have faith before you have that experience.
Okay, so
That
I'm kind of
experience, and they say, I want that experience. And it's like, well, yes, that's beautiful. And the opportunity for that experience is going to come through your faith. It's going to come through grace. It's going to come through surrender. It's going to come through prayer.
yeah.
But if you don't have faith in the very beginning, then obviously none of that's even going to happen.
Yeah, I love that. I love that what you're saying is it is something that needs to be inherently trusted and believed in so that the experiences within and outside of you can lean on that rather than actually, I mean, for me, I know when I was younger, I read a book and it was a life changer for me. And it spoke about fear and faith, and fear was the vice of self-doubt and destruction ultimately. And faith was almost the mother of love that gives birth to what you're saying, mercy and compassion and empathy and trust. And I begun to recognize in my life, I've had to have this innate belief in a power, if you like, that is greater than me, but is also very personal with me. That leads me to my question for you. Can you share a personal experience where choosing faith over fear actually made a significant impact in your personal life?
Beautiful question, beloved. Beautiful question. I don't know.
Maybe a series of events.
Yeah, to choose one, I would say to you that my faith is my saving grace. And so I don't think there's one experience. I would say my journey in life is just as challenging as everyone else's. Although, everyone's got their own journey and their own challenges, and everyone just goes, wow, it's just so intense. It's so hard. So, my journey would be the same, and I'm happy to share some of that. Obviously, you know it, but I'm happy to share it with people online. But what I would say is that if I didn't hold faith, it would, my ability to cope would be, I wouldn't be able to cope. Let's put it that way. So it would actually probably lead me into quite serious mental health issues. That dark hole, I'd be just
Yeah.
going, what's this all about? Life's just fucked, life's shit. Why would this happen to me? I could also have a really wonderful time blaming God. God, why would you do this to me? I'm a good person. Why would you, and to share some things with the beautiful people who are listening. Hi, everyone. Um, so I was married before, and I was married for 20 years. And one day, my late wife, Eve, went to the doctor, and she got a call saying, please come in, we need to speak to you. And a long story, very short, was that she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a form of cancer, and she was given 3.5 years to live. So to journey with, obviously, that a person that's your partner and have them going through that journey is tough. It's really, really tough, especially, well, all the way through. But obviously, seeing the final days, knowing that it's terminal and knowing that it's ending, but being there for those final days, it's tough. And for you and I, we had a beautiful home, and we had beautiful programs that we were running around the world. And we'd probably spent 10 years, you and I, creating those programs and creating the lifestyle, or the life that we wanted. So much of it was around service and humanitarian. We're very blessed in being able to travel around the world and deliver our programs to beautiful people and who became family. And then something shitty called COVID happened. Some people might have heard of it. And, with COVID, obviously had a very big impact on us. And so they're just a couple of very small, or there are a couple of things where, we've had to change states, and we've had to reset, and we've had to relook at everything all over again. So, it's very easy to get very angry or very frustrated, or to go into blame, or to go into depression. To answer your question, it was faith and prayer, and a belief in something that was outside my control, that there's a purpose, that there's a meaning, that there's a connection, a knowingness, that I'm being looked after, that you're being looked after, that there's, if I've got the courage and we have the courage, we can grow from the experience. I don't think it's the experience that's meant to define us. I think it's about how we,
Beautiful.
come out of that experience, and how we grow from it. And so I would say it's been our faith on our ability to learn and to grow. I mean, look at you, you're at university, you're completing your final year in in your humanitarian degree. So there's been some very beautiful and profound gifts that have come out of what has seemed like a very dark and challenging time.
Mm. And thank you so much for sharing that and for being very vulnerable and sharing your story and your voice, because I would imagine that loss and death and grief and, coupled with the fact that we are human beings, we're sensitive human beings in a world that is experiencing a crisis in connection, a crisis in consciousness. We have forgotten how to come together as a community and really have each other's backs. And I pile all that together, I think mental health is probably a outcome.
Yeah, I
It's,
agree.
an outcome of a society that has forgotten its face, that
Yeah,
is
right.
actually crippled in a value system that perhaps is, a little bit more of that patriarchal, success-based, goal-oriented, fear-based kind of system. So with that, I'm saying that I've journeyed with Jonathan. I've journeyed with him as a friend, as a business partner, and a lover, and as a husband for many years. And I feel like what I've seen in you is you've got this sense of, you've got this light about you. There's a peace that radiates from the center of your soul. It's not positive thinking. It's not about changing your mindset or strengthening your will or changing your mind. You're consistently holding a true relationship to faith, to God. So I want to ask you, Jonathan, for those people that are listening, how do you feel like, how do you define, how does faith differ from hope and optimism and being positive?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. I think really what we're talking about here is two different types of journeys. So, faith and optimism are coming from our mind. So one part of our journey is, again, it's going back to our identity or our personality or how we exist in the world. What are my values? What are my thoughts? But, in saying that, we're also defined by, our emotional triggers. We're
Sure.
defined by our previous hurts. We're defined by our traumas. Most of these things, even though they've happened many, many years ago, could have been happened in childhood, become part of our unconscious mind, become then part of our identity, and we're not even aware of it. Yet, we talk about it so much, we kind of go, oh, it's, I've got this weight problem and I've got this and I've got that's happening to me and it's all because of this. So, we kind of talk about it, but we're talking about things that have happened in our past, but we've actually made them define me. So, just having a positive mind or a positive attitude is around, it's a personality trait. It's around personal development, right? So it's kind of like, well, rather than being negative, I'm going to be positive. It's using a positive mind. It doesn't necessarily lead to healing. It doesn't necessarily lead to any type of it's certainly got nothing to do with spiritual relationship or spiritual growth. It's a personal development process. Um, that why can be positive, it's still in a way keeping you or us trapped in the box. And it means that we've always got to be positive, because one minute you're not positive, you've still got that same hurt,
Yeah,
trauma.
that's a really good
It's,
point.
it's going to come up again. So, I love being positive. Yeah, let's all be positive. And let's also focus on, understanding ourselves and understanding our hurt and our trauma. And let's be proactive and take responsibility for healing that. And, what we're talking about in this context, either with faith or a connection to something outside of ourselves, that's not personal development. That's not something about how I see the outside world, how I experience the outside world through my mind. That is how I experience the outside world through my inner world. That's how I experience the world, through my connection, through my heart. Um, it's not personal development, it's spiritual development or spiritual growth. Um, but, at the end of the day, it's all about having a real connection with God, whatever that means to you. you know, because again, faith is part of that journey to have that connection. And we can talk now or another time about what that journey looks like and how to do it. But the gift that comes is profound. You know, we all deserve the experience of grace.
Mm,
We all deserve the experience of peace.
mm,
We all deserve the experience of mercy.
mm,
We all deserve the experience of forgiveness.
mhm,
And these aren't things that, you know, we can just give ourselves. They're an experience that happens within us, but it's coming from God within Christianity. They'd be talking about through the Holy Spirit, and a connection, obviously, through the Trinity, through God and the Son. Um, and other religions would have other definitions of that as well. But the point is that it's an actual experience, not just a mind concept or an
mm. And what I'm hearing also, and what I have experienced in my own personal journey, is it's an intimate relationship.
idea.
It is an intimate relationship. It's a relationship with the Holy Spirit, or it's a relationship with God. It is actually a relationship with mercy, the spirit of mercy, and the
Yeah.
spirit of, and the virtue of faith, and the spirit of commitment, and almost like interacting with those virtues and bringing them closer. And I think you spoke about the internal journey. So it's actually
So
having that internal journey with those virtues.
I think it goes back to that whole original point. Am I a human being looking to have a spiritual experience? And if that's the case, you know, what kind of a spiritual experience do I want to have? And I can make that up. The experience is made up through my mind. But in my spiritual being, then having a human experience, that's a totally different thing. And if you sit and answer that authentically and you go, yes, I'm a spiritual being, well, then you're a lot more than just a human being. You're also a spiritual being. You know, people might use the word, you know, soul. You know, I've got a soul, you know. So the whole thing then changes, because everything we're now talking about is not an experience of my mind with something made up, or my mind with my mind. It's actually an experience of that part of me that's greater than me. That's not my mind. It's my soul that
Okay.
is actually having an experience with something that is holding it and loving it, and the creator of it, and the where you journey and where the connection is. It's eternal. It's eternal. It's eternity. And all of a sudden it's moving from a limited view, limited idea of love in the mind, or a limited idea of forgiveness, or a limited, whatever our mind can imagine, it's moving into something that is an unlimited expression of that, that exists, you know, in this lifetime on many different levels of experience. That's why people obviously spend time in contemplation and in prayer and in meditation, because they're also having that opportunity to have that experience, but they're also in the experience of having an opportunity to actually have an experience with God. And the understanding also is that experience is not just for this lifetime, it's because the soul's eternal. That experience is part of our own eternity. And so, um, I mean, for me personally, it's the only journey in town.
Yeah,
Really. I mean,
I
I
can vouch for that. I
I understand I'm human and I'm having a human experience and I'm journeying with you, and, you know, we're doing amazing things. And, but really the most important thing for me is, you know, who am I, and how do I pursue that, and how do I have a relationship with that? And then that's not just for me, excuse me. You know, you mentioned before about me holding, I think you said the word light, some light, or maybe some peace. That's just an expression of that experience. That's not anything that I'm doing. It's got nothing to do with me personally. That is an outcome of that connection.
And I want to go deeper into this, because I know that it's been one of the gifts that you've, given me very early days, but also, for people out there, and for me, it's almost like a lifetime refinement of having that relationship, being tested, being challenged, and actually choosing faith over fear. And for those of you listening, you know, Jay and I, whilst being together for a very long time, as he said, we're still very human, and fundamentally we're going to be tested and challenged, and there are going to be obstacles, personal, intimate, you know, and societal. But the thing is, the choice point here is, how do we sustain choosing the spirit of faith and love and, you know, acceptance and trust and healing over the spirit of worry and self-doubt, panic, you know, which can adversely also cause um, mental health challenges. It can cause emotional dysregulation. It can cause anxiety. You know, having, you know, being in a state of anxiety or worry and panic will also trigger, you know, your traumas. So my question for you, and this is my ongoing
Yeah.
piece in the world of development, is how do we move thoroughly from trauma to wisdom, you know, or how do we convert our wounding to wisdom? How do we choose to have a relationship with this instead of constantly buying into the fear monsters?
Excuse me, I was just sneaking off then to get a pen.
Yeah.
Um, I so much of this is around our attitude too. Are you going to get a pen as well?
I actually am turning the heater on. It's becoming
Um,
incredibly hot in here in this little room.
so much of it's around attitude. So, you know, if we have an attitude that things just happen to us and it's just shit and it's always been done to me, you know, then obviously that's going to impact us on our quality of life. It's going to impact us on our mental health. You know, I've seen people where something small happens and, you know, their attitude around that is, it's just so bad. It's so severe that they're actually really making like a really deep hole for themselves, and they end up having a relationship with the dark hole. They actually becomes part of their personality or their identity, and you know, it's kind of like they get connected to it. It's like they don't they it's like in their healing, they don't know who they would be if they didn't have that darkness or that hurt or that pain or that dark hole. So you know, that then becomes another little trap, if you like, that we've created. Just to throw that around from another point of view, what about that all these tests that come along is just an opportunity for us to choose faith
Yeah,
or to
this is why I'm
choose
asking you.
or to choose forgiveness, to choose not to actually go into that dark hole. Yes, we're going to be tested again and again, as you've mentioned. You and I, we get tested a lot, but no more
Get
than
tested a
everyone else.
lot, you guys.
A
I'm
lot,
telling you,
but
we're
no,
very mortal.
no more than anyone else, right? So what's really important is it's about how you and I show up and how we respond. And you know, for me personally, I look at all those tests as a gift to go, here's an opportunity for me to choose faith over fear.
Sure.
Here's an opportunity for me to choose love over hate. Here's an opportunity for me to choose my connection to the divine, rather than choose the darkness or you know, that black hole or whatever. So for me, I think there's a couple of different things here. I firmly believe that each of us have the power of choice. And so what we're talking about here is, what is it that I am going to choose, right? So yes, I understand the test, but what am I going to choose, right? Also, though, tied into that choice is I see the challenge as a gift.
Sure.
And I also
That's
see,
actually really beautiful, and I want to highlight that.
yeah,
Challenges can be gifts.
I think the bigger the challenge, all right, and who out there's got like, here, Jonathan, Mary, you know, the challenges in my life, like, oh my God, they're just so hard, they're so challenging, they're so painful. But just consider, you know, that the greater the challenge is the greatest opportunity to experience forgiveness or redemption or love or grace or mercy.
Yeah.
Imagine if it's, you know, if it is a call from God, you know, imagine if it is a calling you home. And because we tend to be stubborn, and we like doing things our way and, living through our mind and doing things, my way and this way.
Sure.
Sometimes I think we need a very gentle, no, 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 I'm here and I'm here to walk with you. And, you're an eternal being and you're so much more. You are who you think you are and you're so much more. And I'm not asking you to give up who you are. I'm asking you to also have a relationship with me as well. And I think sometimes then the challenges, including the bigger challenges, are opportunities for us to realign, reconnect. I would also say to you, and we've talked about this, is when we went through those challenges with what happened to us, through COVID and around our home and and the work and our lifestyle and community and finances, every area of our life was impacted. And it was a big shock. And for a little while there, you and I were in shock and were like, wow, what does this mean and how it's just going to impact us? And there was doubt and there was concern and there was fear. But God bless us. Within about 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
gone, well,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
There's a gift here. We don't know what the gift is. We
Yeah.
don't see it. We don't understand it. There's obviously some form of gift. There's some form of realignment. There's something going on here. And let's stay positive and let's go down. Let's just um, yeah,
It was,
let's have faith, right? That's which we did. We stayed in faith and we went through an incredible, I mean, all our belongings, for everyone listen, all our belongings are still packed up in Queensland. And we came down to Melbourne with just a couple of suitcases and a car. I personally thought this COVID thing was going to be all over in a few months and you and I would be back on the Gold Coast and get all our things out of storage. It's been in storage for 4 years. I
yeah.
keep going to look for things. I'm like, now where is it? I'm like, wait a second, it's still in storage. So, I'm just saying, I think that we stayed very positive and we took it as an opportunity that there were gifts there for us. And I think you would agree with me that the gifts that have come over the last few years, the reset, the redirection,
For sure.
have been the most profound gifts that you and I never ever would have um,
For sure.
received, contemplated, experienced at all, at all. So
And
how thankful for
I,
what happened.
I think you and I looked at each other actually after day 3 and day 4, and we just literally just in silence just looked into each other's eyes and went, "Oh my goodness, like thank God, thank grace, thank us," and really gave ourselves credit, pat on it back to say, we're really not defined by our by the materialism or the
Yeah,
home or our job or our company, and it's a hard thing not to be, because obviously we were still very sad and we still had to experience the grief and the layers of grief and the cycles of grief. But yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say, and for everybody listening, is there are choices to make when you are experiencing challenging, confrontational, like cycles, moments, episodes, crisis. We can hold on to that and worry and panic and go through all of these really intense emotions, and that might be a part of what you have to go through in order to then realize, okay, at what point, sorry, can we surrender? Can we let go? When can we learn to, like, because controlling an outcome is really not going to essentially expand or change your relationship with it. It will only just make it more, I guess it will only intensify what's already happening. So I would I'm hearing you say through the challenges there are gifts there, and but from these gifts there are choices to be made. And this is where, I will say, the spirit of empowerment. This is where you really tune into that wise part of yourself that then perhaps builds on the currency of faith, builds on the relationship you have with God. And that brings me to my next question. You've mentioned God a couple of times, Jonathan, a few times. I know what your relationship, but what is your relationship with God? Who is God to you? Do you want to give us, or in a few minutes, we may need to do ongoing classes, but what is this relationship that you have with God? And I'm going to ask you your
And
personal relationship, right? Rather than, I'm not asking Jonathan, what's your definition of God? I'm asking him, what is your relationship to God and with God? There's a difference.
that like I said before, I never would have been able to cope um, with the challenges that have come up in my life. Um, it feels like sometimes, the cartoons where you got the angel sitting on one shoulder, you got the little devil on
Oh
the
yeah,
other.
like your
Happening. Blah,
conscience.
blah, blah. Yeah,
Conscience.
right. Well, imagine if the little devilly side is your conscious or your mind or your stories or your trauma. It's your mind, right? And imagine if the angel is actually, that connection, that Holy Spirit, that connection to God, the one that's actually trying to lead you the right way and lead you into a connection with God. So, I think all of us would understand that we've got these kind of like two voices going. Um, and so um, what is my experience with God would be, which way are we facing? Or what are we listening to? Because it's so easy to listen to the negative side, or that negative chatter, or that mind
Oh,
chatter, or what other people are saying about us, or so many people I know, I go, I'll never get over this. It happened 20 years ago. It happened 30 years ago. So come on, it's 20, 30, 40 years ago. You're living now, not 20, 30 years ago. So, understanding about being able to live in the moment and to be able to have that experience. So, very basically, it's a starting point. I would say my relationship with God is a conscious choice and decision around which way I am facing, which way am I facing towards light and grace and peace and mercy, or am I facing into the trauma or into the violence, the terrorism? So which way am I facing? So that would be a very much a starting point that defines me. Um, But I'd also say that I've spent my whole life is defined by which way I'm facing, and then having a personal relationship. Um, and I do that through meditation. I do that through prayer. I've blessed to have, obviously, well, not obviously, but I'm blessed to have some personal experiences along the way that, as I said, if you hold that faith, if you've got the right direction, if you've got the right container, I guess, holding you and supporting you and loving you, um, then, you really can't not have that experience at some point. Um, Obviously people do that through different containers, like different religions. I love for instance, within Christianity, I love that there's prayer, there's liturgy, there's service. I love that there's baptism with water. I love that there's the ability to go and speak to a priest around listening to the wrong voice and making wrong decisions, but understanding that it's again, that gift, it's a test, and it's an opportunity to go into a closer relationship with God, and so that you can get spiritual direction from a priest. We also call that confession. So the ability to have confession, the ability for forgiveness, the ability through redemption, which comes through the Eucharist. There's so many beautiful, and I'm just talking about Christianity here. So, I mean, obviously, people who belong to other faiths may have or would have experiences where they're getting those gifts.
yeah.
But, they're tangible things that become part of your life. And as you know, I would get up in the morning and, I'll do a prayer, and I'll go to bed last thing of the
Actually,
night.
yeah.
prayer and I'll meditate during the day. And, you know, it's a great part of my life is focused in that connection. Um, and it brings me an experience of joy, of happiness, a profound sense of peace,
Yeah.
love, mercy, grace. I don't know. It's not that I don't know who I'd be without it, but I wouldn't want to be without it. I'd
You
feel
know,
very small
you've
and very.
actually just answered both of my questions. Like, what rituals do you have every day that can help deepen your connection, which you've answered? And then what does it give you back in return? What does this connection give you back in return, which you've also answered? So my I want to ask you to just go a little bit deeper around that. Um, how does being connected to this um, grace that you call or faith, how does being connected to God, faith, and the relationship you have with faith, how does that support you in managing and overcoming or working through life's daily, day-to-day triggers, day-to-day letdowns, day-to-day, we call it stupidities, like when you're on the road and you're going somewhere and someone overtakes you and just, I don't know, like it's just every day there's something popping up in life, We
You
call
know,
it,
I really, I really think that all of us, first of all, I think all of us are spiritual beings having a human experience. So that's my belief. That's a starting point. And so then I think, you know, the plan is for everyone to be able to have that experience back to themselves. And as I mentioned before, sometimes we have challenges to realign us or reconnect us because we're stubborn and we're facing the wrong way and we're going the wrong way and we're spending too much time in our own story, mind, or trauma. So the first thing is I look at everyone and everyone's in the same position. You know, they've all got their own hurt, they've all got the pain, they've got their trauma, they're all got their challenges, and you know, they're also possibly going to be you know, being tested so that they also have an opportunity to realign and reconnect. They've also everyone's got their own traumas and hurts, you know. I mean,
and
you
they're
all
very
understand that.
real, aren't they?
They're really real, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
my hurt and trauma is so real to me. If I talk to, you know, you about it, you might go, yeah, it's not too bad. You know, let me tell you about mine. And, you know, yours would be very real to you. And I'd be listening to it going, come on, you know, it's we can't really understand the level of emotional hurt, the experience of the trauma. I'm sure if everyone's listening, they would totally agree, you know, that their hurt and trauma and their emotional pain, um, you know, is so real. And you know, we can go to a mild level of trauma, but we can also go to moderate and severe, and we can end up having to go to psychologists, psychiatrists. We might end up needing to be on medication. So there's a whole range of obviously issues and levels of severity, you know, that you know we work with as well through One Love Community Care. Um, so I think the first thing is just having a level of empathy and compassion to understand that everyone is human and everyone is going through their own journey and they're going through their own stuff. And so when someone is angry, you know, you and I, we're obviously involved in a number of humanitarian groups, and in some of those groups, we see people who are really showing a lot of anger
yeah,
and they're very vengeful in their talking and there's a lot of hate.
yeah,
Um, but they're talking about doing it from a humanitarian point of view. And I know you and I are just going to go, you're talking about being a humanitarian, but you're talking about the way you're talking is there's a lot
yeah,
of hate and there's a lot of vengeance and you know you're actually talking around terrorism, but you're actually mirroring kind of in a way, you know, what the terrorists are kind of like doing. That's the level of it. Yet there's no, you know, I would just kind of go, but where's the solution? Where's the peace? Let's talk about peace. Let's talk about the solution. So I think that's a part of it, you know. My beautiful dad, who's no longer with us, used to say, everyone's crazy except for me. And I love that. I think everyone's crazy except for me. And I have a level of compassion, understanding, and empathy for where people are. They're on their own journey. They've got their own hurt, pain, and trauma. It's not mine. Some of them keep it themselves. Some of them love projecting it. Some of them love projecting it onto other people, including you and I. Some of them love not only projecting it, but, you know, unless you agree with them, it actually can be very, can get like damaging. It can get very, very emotional, you know. And, you know, it's so important for you and I just to hold that state of understanding and empathy, and grace. And, you know, you and I pray for them, and we also understand it's between them and their journey. And I think that brings us, the quick answer would be empathy and compassion.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. I'm just going to add to that, if that's okay, Jonathan. I know
Yeah.
one of my subjects at university that I'm majoring in is global conflict resolution, global cultural conflict resolution. And we basically learn how to negotiate, how to create reconciliation between not just communities, but world leaders and governments that have been in opposition, that have been fighting, that have created wars, that are essentially enemies. And I know when we started researching this topic, this really, really big global macro topic, and having conversations, we realize that fundamentally at the heart of even the world's biggest leader, like even talk about like the world leader, big religious leader, there is pain, you know, and there is ancestry, and there is that trauma, and also there is a not even maybe sometimes the ability or having the skill to communicate effectively. Perhaps they were trained to communicate violently. Perhaps their families were robbed and raped and abused, you
Exactly.
know. And so it's almost like one of the things that I've learned and how I use my faith, and in I'm hoping how FREEBIRD and OLCC and One Love Humanity and Jane I can contribute to the world, is remembering that at the seed and at the seat of every human, no matter how big they are, no matter how old they are, no matter what pedestal you've put them on, is there is a pain. We can't avoid that pain. We're in a reality, we're in a world that actually stems from colonialism and you know, a lot of pain. And the way that we communicate and create peace talks with these key players globally, politically, um, societally, is we actually kind of go, okay, let's have the conflict, let's bring all the conflict to the table, let's talk openly and honestly, obviously within the boundaries of non-violent communication, guns away, knives away, you know, guards away,
Yeah.
and basically have sit on a table and just basically start talking openly, realizing that conflict is actually, can be, not always, can be a part for understanding. And that's real compassion, that's real empathy. It's like understanding creates that change creates different choices, and that becomes a ripple where reconciliation may happen. But also understanding, and this is the power of faith, that reconciliation may not always happen. We may not always meet head to head, heart to heart. We may have too much damage. Sometimes it's best to actually pull away and then, you know, sort things, let thought things sort itself out, because peace sometimes may not be achieved through that conversation, through that reconciliation.
You just mentioned heart to heart, and you know I have a passion around leadership and
Sure.
developing leaders, and been doing that for many decades through the Institute of Conscious Leadership. And there we talk about understanding leadership characteristics and values and skills and competencies. So, you know, we can talk about, and we do, and we can teach all those things as well, and we can develop skills in that area as well. But, you know, there's three things that you've just mentioned that really start defining a leader on the next caliber, on the next level. And that is, unless they've got heart, like sincere heart, the
Sure.
ability, and then through that heart, the other words you used were empathy and compassion.
Perfect.
Because if you're going to take a position and the other person's going to take a position and you're going to sit on the other side of the table, you know, the guns are going to end up, even though you've left them outside the door, you said, they're going to come out because,
That's
you
all
know,
a good
the two sides are just so used to
thing.
fighting and taking position. Now, you and I see this on a global level. We see this through, you know, on a, like humanitarian countries, right? But, you know, you and I see this through organizations as well. But,
Sure.
you know, we do relationship work and we see this through smaller communities. We see this in families, and we also, for many years, we're doing working with couples, and we see this with couples
Absolutely.
where, you know, they're both taking a position,
Sure.
and you know, thank God there are no guns or anything, because it's like it's the macro and the micro. It's the same war going on. And there is, what is missing is, we can teach again, talk about values and skills and characteristics, but what is always the critical factor is going to be the heart, and is going to be the ability to have empathy and compassion. If you don't have empathy and compassion for yourself, number one, now for who I am, who you are, right? In your journey, you need to have empathy and compassion for yourself so that you can also then look at holding empathy and compassion for other people. If you
Yep.
don't love yourself,
Beautiful.
you're not going to be able to love someone else. If you can't forgive
Yeah, totally.
yourself, and you know, it's fine. You know, again, we were talking about through, you know, through the church, for instance, there are actual tangible processes or things that
Yes.
you can do with a priest for forgiveness, for
Love.
redemption, right? But if you can't actively do that and go through processes of forgiving yourself, you're always going to be holding that hurt, pain, and trauma. And by the way, how are you ever going to be able to forgive someone else
Yeah.
if you can't forgive yourself?
Yeah. I love that. I think
So,
that is
so,
bang on, bang on, bang on, bang on, because we can talk about all of these things like compassion and empathy. However, kind of this is where, you know, the self-awareness, the practice of self-awareness and honesty, which is what you're talking about, comes through.
yeah, absolutely. But it's the practice side of it that actually, you know, if I had one outcome of what people would take out of this talk, is what is it that I'm doing in my life, to, you know, first of all would be, am I a human being having a spiritual experience, or a spiritual being having a human experience? It would be, sit with that question and answer it. And then based on that answer, what does that mean to you? And if you answer it, I'm a spiritual being, then what is your spiritual journey? What is your spiritual practice? And you know, I'm sure we can have another conversation
Absolutely.
that fits in around that. But you know, then it's going around, how do I learn to love myself? How do I learn to love another person? By the way, you know, when we're talking about my relationship with God, that's what it is. It's a love affair where I'm loving something outside of myself, but I'm also having the experience of being loved. And, you know, I'm experiencing forgiveness um, through different sacraments and through different experiences. And I'm doing that on a daily process or a weekly process. Um, how much time do we have? I'm just want to stay within your
Yeah, we've got another 10 minutes or
10
so.
minutes. May I read a few things?
Of course. I just want to say, like, just as we're talking about compassion, um, for those of you wondering how to cultivate it, like, start with the very basic, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. That's it.
That's
Go
it.
for it.
So I'm just going to read a few things. A bit of, we'll cover off on the Old Testament, a little bit of the Old Testament and a little bit of the New, so everyone's covered. So this is from Psalm 13. So it's written by King David many thousands of years ago. But I just love this. This is for, you know, if I'm looking for God, right? So Psalm 13. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long should I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long will my enemy be exalted over me? All right, that's what we're talking about before that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Consider and hear me, O Lord my God, enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemies say, I prevailed against him, lest those who trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I've trusted in your mercy, right? One of the things we've been talking about. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. It's only 6 verses, Psalm 13, but that's very much what I think is we're talking about, is starting to do read these prayers or read these Psalms and start, inside craving for that connection, that peace, that relationship. I love Psalm 13 around like a prayer that I do, if people are interested. This is Psalm 50. So, have mercy upon me, O God, according to your great mercy, and according to the multitude of your compassions, blot out all my iniquity. You shall wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me of my sin. For I know my iniquity, and my sin is before me at all times. Against you alone I have sinned, and I've done evil before you, that you may be justified in your words and prevail when you are judged. For behold, I was conceived in iniquity, and in sin did my mother desire me. For behold, you have loved truth, the secret and the hidden things of your wisdom. You have manifested unto me. You shall sprinkle me with your hyssop, and I shall be clean. You shall wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. You shall cause me to hear the joy and gladness, and my humble bones shall rejoice. Turn your face away from my sins, and of all my iniquities you shall blot out. A pure heart you shall create in me, O God, and an upright spirit renew in me. Cast me not away from your face, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Give me the joy of your salvation, and strengthen me with your governing spirit, that I may teach the lawless your ways, and the wicked shall turn to you. Deliver me from blood, O God, the God of my salvation, and my tongue shall rejoice in your righteousness. O Lord, you shall open my lips, and my mouth shall declare your praise. And it goes on. People, please, that you like that, Psalm 50. That's me just sharing a little bit of me and my heart and my soul.
Your devotion.
I've got so many, I'm going to call them spiritual books, and, we've got bookcases of them, and we've been collecting them and reading them for decades. But, you pick up these words that someone has written, King David, thousands of years ago, and just sit with them and just let these words touch your heart.
Yeah.
And allow the words, if you're interested, to point you in the direction of having that journey or that spiritual connection or relationship with God. There's so much more, maybe another time we can do another.
Absolutely.
But, there's prayers from liturgy. There's so many beautiful quotes around love, and I could go on. But
I know you can.
that is very much, for everyone listening, that is, if you ask me how I do it, that's how I do it. I do it through going to liturgy. I do it through prayer. I do it through meditation, and I do it through reading and contemplating these things that have been written, so many thousands of years ago. The words, I don't know how a human can write them, and obviously I don't think a human has written them. I think they are written through, the grace of Spirit.
Well, thank you, Jay. I do want to ask you one final question, but I'm just going to hold that off for a moment. I want to just thank everybody for tuning in and listening. The show is dedicated to communities and people, everyday common people from all walks of life that are experiencing mental health challenges, that actually are keen to explore relationship dynamics and talk about the highs, lows, and in betweens. We are committed to actually providing a platform where people come in, share their stories, share what's helped and supported them, what's given them life, what's given them vision, what has essentially allowed them to shine on and be a beacon of light for life. There are many diverse people who come in with many diverse values. Jonathan speaking specifically about his relationship with God, how he has been able to navigate his life through many trials and tribulations, and how he has been able to actually step into his grace, step into his true authenticity, and share his story shamelessly with the world, in order to inspire not only him, not only me being his wife and his family, but actually also his extended family in the community. So if anyone here wants to reach out, if you're intrigued, if you find yourself a little triggered by some of the things that were spoken and you're sat with it and you're kind of gone, oh shit, I'm coming back to this, I really need to speak to Jay, or if you've got any questions, please email us, holler out. We are here for you, and we are providing this platform so that everybody has a voice to explore whatever it is that can help resurrect them, can help re-inspire them and realign them to the best life that they can live, because it is a true gift. With the dark holes and the light and the the beautiful union that you have and the choices you can manifest in your life that you can ultimately create, that is the biggest gift.
Yeah,
I also want to say, if you've
before
got
you
any, hey,
to say we do very much honor you, everyone, and your journey and your beliefs. And I know you've got a
absolutely,
question
for
for
sure.
me, but yeah, I just wanted to thank Mary for giving me the opportunity. I've actually never had this talk before. I'm always looking to support people on their journey, so it's always about them. Never before have I really shared from my personal journey and shared on that level. So thank you for that opportunity. And for you and I and the team at One Love Community Care, and everyone on Freebird, we're here because we care about humanity, we care about you, we care about people, and we really want to support people on their journey, because no one really needs to be um, stuck in that darkness. It's not great.
No, it's not. And if you are and you're struggling to come out of a heavy situation, please do reach out. There are support systems, there are phone people, communities, organizations that you can reach out to that can help you. If you're in Australia and you want to speak to a counselor or a psychologist, you want a support worker, you want anything at all in a group, a team of people that can support you with trauma-informed care and holistic practices, please holler out to One Love Community Care, OLCC.com, and we will be overjoyed to point you in the right direction if we can't support you. So know that there are communities out there. I also, Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability, and for beginning the conversation about, your relationship with faith and with God and with life. And we haven't really explored the mindfulness aspect, so maybe we can bring you on to another show. Again, for all of you listening, let this be a reminder for you to stay true to what cultivates magic in your heart, for what really brings true faith, what really calls you to purpose. And I'm really grateful that, Jonathan, you've been that person and you've shared that voice vulnerably today. So we love you guys. Do you have anything else to share before we?
I would just say, one sentence around mindfulness was just understanding and exploring our hurts and our traumas, just knowing what they are, and just knowing that there's the power of choice. I think that's just a very much a starting step. You can choose, right? And if you can't, you're struggling with that. That's also what we're here for, or other professional people, is to help you around the choices and understanding. That's all mindfulness. Please be really gentle with you. You are
Yeah.
the most important person
Absolutely.
in all of existence on the whole planet. And, as Mary has said, we're here to support you. I'm here to support you. If there's anything I can ever do on any level, please reach out. And yeah, I'm here for all of you. I really have been on both sides. So I've been in the darkness, I think, as we're talking about. And I really also truly believe that all of us deserve to be in the light.
Yeah. Yeah. And safe and celebrated and, you know. So thank you, free
Okay.
birds. We love you. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I'll see you in the next room in a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Bye,
God bless
everyone.
everyone. All the very best.
God bless.